You ever wonder what connects that person who just hates rules, your friend who has to fix everyone's problems, and maybe that coworker whose desk is always, perfectly organized? Well, it turns out there's this powerful psychological drive that's secretly shaping all of these behaviors. Okay, let's get into it. It's a pretty interesting paradox, right? On one side, you've got someone who fights against any kind of structure, and on the other, you have someone who just can't function without it. But what if I told you that these two people are actually chasing the exact same thing? So, check this out. You have the rule breaker, who's pushing back against any control from the outside world. And then you have the fixer, who's trying to create control in the outside world. They seem like total opposites, but really, they're both just reacting to the same fundamental human need. And that is the drive for control. Now, this isn't about being a control freak in the way we usually think about it. It's way deeper than that. It's about this psychological need we all have to feel like we're the ones steering our own ship. The official term for this is autonomy. It's that feeling that your choices, your actions, they're truly your own. And honestly, this one idea is the key that unlocks why all these different behaviors actually make perfect sense. It's kind of like the golden thread we're going to follow through this whole thing. All right, so let's start with our first character study, the person who fights for control by, well, resisting the rules that are put on them. This is the classic battle for external autonomy. And here is where it all clicks. Where most people might see a rule as, a safety net or a helpful guide, this person sees a cage. For them, it's not even about what the rule says, it's about the fact that it's being pushed on them from the outside. And this isn't just about being stubborn. For them, a rule can feel like a direct threat to their identity as an independent thinker. See, they're driven by their own internal compass, not what someone else tells them to do. So when a rule says you must do this, it feels like their choice is being taken away, and that feeling is just deeply uncomfortable. This quote absolutely nails it. For this kind of person, the process, the very act of choosing for themselves, is actually more important than the final outcome. Success just doesn't feel like a win if it wasn't achieved on their own terms. The choice itself is the real prize. Okay, so let's flip the coin and look at the other side of this. Instead of fighting external control, some people find their autonomy by creating it. They literally order their outer world as a way to calm their inner world. And this is so important to understand. When you see someone constantly cleaning or always jumping in to fix a situation, it's easy to just write it off as a personality quirk. But what's really going on is a psychological strategy. They're turning external chaos into something manageable to get a sense of inner peace and control. For the fixer, it's like a program running in their head. The second a problem pops up, their brain just snaps into solution mode. Identifying that chaos and then implementing a fix isn't just about being helpful. It's about restoring their own feeling of stability in the world. And you know what? The cleaner uses an almost identical process, just in a different area. For them, physical clutter is like mental static, a constant visual reminder of chaos. So that repetitive act of cleaning actually calms their nervous system. And the visible order they create translates directly into a feeling of mental clarity. So we've talked about how people manage control in the world around them. But what happens when that battle for autonomy turns inward? Now we're talking about mastering your own mind, your focus, and your very sense of self. A perfect modern example is the person who just sort of outgrows social media. It's not some angry detox, it's more like a quiet graduation. They stop needing the likes and the comments because their feeling of self-worth is now coming from inside. They're taking back control of their own mental energy, choosing real-world privacy over online attention. And this brings us to probably the most subtle version of this drive. We've talked about controlling your environment, controlling your focus, but what happens when the thing you're most afraid of losing control of is who you are? Meet the success overthinker. This person isn't actually afraid of failing. No, they're afraid that achieving their goal will change them into someone they don't even recognize. Maybe someone who's busier or more stressed or just different. So to keep control over their current identity, they might unconsciously get in their own way. So we've looked at 5 really different strategies, but they're all aiming for that same core need for autonomy. Let's put them all side by side and see how they stack up. This table really pulls it all together, doesn't it? The rule breaker wants to resist outside control and values choice more than anything. The fixer and the cleaner are all about creating stability and clarity. They value usefulness and order. And then you have the social media outgrower and the success overthinker who are focused on internal control, valuing things like authenticity and the comfort of their own identity. See? They're all just different paths to the same destination, feeling in control. So, here's the bottom line. We all have this drive. The real question isn't if you need control, but how you try to get it. Looking back at these patterns, does one of them sound a little familiar? And the bigger question is that strategy actually helping you, or could it be holding you back?